Hey crafters, it's Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and today we're building something sweet, whimsical, and full of holiday cheer, our Gingerbread Chalet box card. Now it obviously folds flat, so you can certainly mail it, but once it pops open, it's like stepping into a tiny winter wonderland. And at the heart of it all is an adorable gingerbread house nestled among evergreen trees and dusted with that special kind of seasonal magic. And of course, we've included a cheerful, cuttable Merry Christmas caption to tie it all together. It's festive, dimensional, and fun to make, perfect for adding a little handcrafted joy to your holiday greetings. Let's get started. Okay, so we are going to just kind of build this layer by layer, and we're going to start with the house, since it's kind of the most important part, I'd say. And this is one of the actual, inserts for the card. And the yellow layer, you can see it has some tabs, so make sure you fold there. We're going to take this, in my case, a white pearlescent, and that's going to go on next. Hopefully my glue bottle isn't clogged, and of course it is. Okay, we should start getting sponsors during the times where I have to unclog my glue bottle. Could probably get a 30-second commercial in there. All right, so we're gonna get this glued into place. There's no vellum or anything. In this little gingerbread chalet, the lights are always on. And that's what the yellow's there for. And also because we needed something to hold it in place. So let's get that glued into place. Make sure it's flush on the bottom. Press that down. Make sure your hands are clean, especially with all this white here. Okay. All right, next, we're gonna take the little detailed cutout, and that's gonna go on next. Look at how beautiful that cutout. Let's flip this around. And I wouldn't worry so much about trying to get glue around all these tiny little details. It's not necessary. We're gonna have plenty of glue in the main areas here, but maybe just do a few little dots in some of the larger areas. You can see that glue is already drying out on me. Okay, get that in place. Just follow the existing shadow layer from the white layer there. Perfect. Okay, next we're going to take this little layer here and pop that into place. This card is going to go pretty quick. I'd say this one is probably one that you can sort of mass produce. I wouldn't make too many, but it does go together pretty quick. All right, so lay this one down. I'm looking at the roof line first, and then the rest of it should just kind of naturally fall into place. Just be very gentle with this bottom part. It is a little fragile, I guess you could say. Okay, next we're going to grab this guy here and get that installed. I hope I'm doing this in the right order. We are under the gun here. Now, one thing I told myself I wouldn't worry about too much since partnering with Creative Fabrica is deadlines. And I mean, we obviously have deadlines. We need to get stuff done. But not like this, and the reason that we're doing this because, well, Christmas in July, you can't do it in August, so we're kind of getting it in, squeezing it in on the last day here. Okay, next we're going to put on the little snow drifts on the roof. Okay, so just very carefully match that up because there's a part of the chimney. I would look at the chimney first, and then also the peak of the roof. You can see I inked this with a nice blue color to give it a frosty look. Got some cold snow. Get that glue out of there. Okay, that looks good. All right, let's get, there we go. That's better. Okay, let's get our door assembled. Okay, I have a few layers for the door. Okay, it's going to start with the white, and then I have a red glitter that kind of creates a candy cane sort of look. So we need to glue the red on top of the white first. Okay, And kind of, you know, it's hard to think about Christmas when it's been so hot. We actually got a break in the weather a little bit, and it's kind of felt more like fall. But I'm ready for the kids to go back to school and to enjoy the upcoming cooler weather. Peyton is, I mean, I know we're doing Christmas stuff here, but he's a Halloween junkie like his dada. And I guess I'm mostly to blame for that. His mom is as well, but I'm just excited for him to experience fall and Halloween and Christmas this year because he kind of understands things a lot more now. He's talking up a storm. Obviously his grammar isn't the best, but you expect that from a 2.5-year-old. All right, also have a little bit of a snow drift situation here for the top of the door. So let's get that in place. And then also we have a small little window to kind of finish it off. And I also inked everything that was white glitter. I hit with a little bit of blue ink just to give it that frosty look. Okay, there we go. And then there are 2 little markers here in the center of the door to help you with the positioning of the window. It's a dainty little piece. So just throw a tiny little bit of glue on there and then use those little markers to help you get it straight. And press that into place. There we go. That looks cute. Hopefully it's straight. Looks pretty good. And then that's going to go right there, like so. Okay. And it should be flush on the bottom. Just match it up with the shadow layer behind there. There we go. Okay. So the house layer is done. You can put that off to the side. Let's take a look at the layer that goes in front of it. Okay, and that is this guy here. Now you can see with these tabs, I'm going to fold these forward. These tabs get folded back. Okay, and we're going to take this green layer and get this glued onto the red. Try to get a little bit of glue on this tree, especially on the star and on the tips of the evergreen. We have some little cut lines on the actual tree that kind of add a little bit of detail to it that normally wouldn't be there. It's a nice little touch. Okay, so match that up. Should be a little bit of wiggle room on the left and right hand side here so that the score line can kind of move freely. You can flip that over, press from this side so in case our hands are sweaty or gluey, we don't get anything on there. And then go ahead and add your star. Okay, pop that right on there. And that star is not symmetrical by design. Okay, there we go. And then let's add our snow. Go ahead and throw some glue on this. This is a white glitter. Again, frosted with a little bit of blue at the top, and just line that up. Beautiful little snowdrift to add to the Winter Wonderland feel of the card. Press that down, and that layer is done. Okay, there we go. We could put that off to the side, let that set. Let's just get rid of the little caption part here. Okay, we have 3 layers for this. This is the cutout, and you want to glue this onto, in my case, I'm using foil. You might be using cardstock, that's fine. But just make sure that the little cutouts for the E, Y, and A are in the correct spot. We'll flip this over. Let's get some glue on the corners. Definitely want it around the edges. Get it into the larger areas, and then for some of the sections of the letters that are a little fragile, like the S and the Y, just put a little dot of glue on there so that they sit firmly and don't go anywhere. And it's just a rectangle, so just match up the rectangle. Everything else will fall into place. Make sure it's good and flush. Flip it over and press down. I'm going to press down from the back side just because I feel like I've been crafting all day and I've got ink and glue and all sorts of fun stuff all over me. Okay, now we'll take and apply glue to this entire gold section. And we need to put this on top of the solid pattern. There we go, just like that. Just line that up nicely. Give that a press. And that's going to fill in the cutouts for the E, A, and Y. I'm going to pop that underneath my mat to let it dry flat. And then we have two more little panels for the sides. Now these are not squares, they're rectangles, so make sure that you glue them down correctly. Let's hit the edges and the corners first. And I mean, technically that's probably all you need, but a little bit in the middle for good measure. And pop that right on there. Get that aligned as perfectly as you can. Give it a press. I'm going to put that under my mat just because it's going on foil. Let the mat do some work. After all, it's just been bumming around sitting on this table doing nothing. Might as well make it useful. And the same thing here. Get that lined up. And there we go. Give that a press. So, see that? Well, don't smack it so hard, Leo. All right, cool. All right, let's get the back layer figured out. And actually, before we do that, before we glue our back layer in place, we've got a couple things we got to do. Well, first off, this piece here, this big red piece, leave that alone for a second. And let me take a look at something. Okay, so take this full piece of the pine trees. I guess there's only one. There's also another snowdrift, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then take this piece, and we're going to glue this on top of the glitter. So again, anytime you're gluing cardstock to glitter, it may take a little extra time for it to set. And now, of course, we have all these little tiny details here as well. Chances are, from experience, we are going to have to do a little painting to make sure that these things sit tight. And there's no harm in going with a little extra glue on this since it's going on a white surface anyway. I'd rather you do that than have to spend a lot of time going back and cleaning it up. But you can see what we're doing here. We're kind of adding a layer so that we can create the little snowy elements on this tree and kind of nudge the tips of these evergreens down or up if necessary, and then press that down. We'll give that a few moments to set, and we'll see if we have to go back in and maybe paint some of these tips if they're not staying put. And we do have two more pieces like this. These look crazy, don't they? Need to figure out how this works. I think this one goes here, yep. So that one's gonna go like that. Just need to get that glued down. And again, don't be afraid to go a little heavier with the glue here. It's not going to hurt. And then you can see the tip of this here is going to go right there on that little part of the evergreen. And then the rest of it, just kind of feel it out. I tried to ink this. I used a brush actually, and instead of green, I used a blue. You can see it a little bit. Not all that much, okay? And then on the other side, we're gonna have to, whoops, there's one side that did not sit flush for me. Let's figure out where this goes. That goes right there, like that. Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. What a funky looking shape, huh? Again, don't be scared to go a little bit heavier with the glue here. Make those dots kind of a little thicker. Especially if you're using glitter. I guess only if you're using glitter. If you're using cardstock, you don't need to worry so much. Okay, that's going to go on like so. Line that up. Press it down. Perfect. Okay, everything seems to be sitting pretty good for me. I'm going to push from the other side. Okay. Looks good. All right, next we're going to put this little snowdrift on here. It's going to make it nice and sturdy. And line that up. That blue ink really looks nice, and it works great with the green. Okay, all right, cool. So basically all the layers are assembled now. Let's put together the card base. Now take a look at this real quick. You'll notice that this is how it's going to go onto the red layer, okay? So you want to make sure, and this is the front, I already pre-folded everything here. This tab is going to get glued to the inside. This is the texture side here. All right, so here's what we need to do. Go ahead and apply some glue to one of the tabs here. I'm going to spread that out nice and thin, cover that whole thing. And then what you can do, how did I do this before? Oh yeah, like this. You can lay this down flat and just line that up right up to the score mark. Make sure it's nice and straight, and then just get it on there initially. And then fold it over onto itself. And make sure that you've got that seam, and this should be straight at the bottom there. Okay, because this thing is supposed to fold flat, so we're gonna test that as we're assembling this to make sure that it does. All right, now we're going to take this tab and glue it here. So let's do that. Let's apply our glue here. Spread that out so everything's nice and clean and crisp. Okay, and then what you should be able to do is put this down flat, bring this other end over, and you should be able to just drop it right on there. Okay, make sure this thing is sitting flush. And here's the seam that we're joining together. Now what I want you to do is fold it over this way now. It should sit flat both ways. You should be able to close it this way. I got a little fuzz there. And this way. Do that a few times. We're also kind of, what are we doing? We are, well, just kind of breaking the paper fibers, loosening them up a little bit. All right, so there's that. Now before we go any further here, let's get those little panels out because I want to stiffen this up a little bit. Okay, let's get our panels in place here. So this one's going to go right here, and you want to make sure that you maintain a nice even border all the way around, almost like we're framing it. Get your glue on there. Okay, easy does it. Check your borders. Perfect. That looks good. Gives a little pop of dimension as well. Okay, there we go. Fold it over this way. And grab this piece. This one's going to go here. Throw a little glue on that one. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you're putting it in the correct orientation, as it is a rectangle and not a square. There we go. Like that. Flip that over this way. So you've only really got one patterned paper to pick out here. And we went with a bit of a lighter red. There's also a darker red that I was going to go with. So either one could work. And of course, this is a little off. Let me fix that. There we go. Perfect. I think I still have it here. I'll show you. Yeah, so you can see we're going to go with this one too. That could have worked, but I like the pattern on here. Me and Diana both agreed that that was our favorite. Okay, so now that we have this, we got to take this and we got to glue this inside. Okay, that's going to go in just like that. So that means that we need to put glue on this entire piece now. And this is going on the back of a glitter piece, which means that you can go a little bit heavier without worrying about like warping the paper. It's a really thick paper. And it doesn't absorb the glue as quickly as cardstock does because it's not porous, which gives you a little extra time. Gives you a little extra time to apply your glue and set it. All right, so now Just a matter of gripping it correctly. Grab the branches, just tuck it in there. Don't worry about getting glue on the back. It's all going to be covered up anyway. And then just match it up with the existing red portion of the trees back there. Make sure it's completely flush. And press that into place. Now we're thickening this up, which kind of adds a little bit of dimension, and it may kind of throw off its ability to fold, but mine's working out just fine, and that looks nice. Okay, so again, every time we add a layer, we're going to rock it back and forth to make sure that it is staying nice and flat for us, and that is working nicely. Okay, cool. One other thing we can do while we're here is put this little layer on the back. This is the area where you can add your little sentiment, do your writing. You can do a print and cut. We did not include any printed cuts for this. Maybe we can. And that's just going to go on there. Make sure you maintain a nice border all the way around. And there we go. All right, so let's get our inserts in and wrap this card up. Okay, so that is that. Let's grab our house layer. Okay, and this is how it's going to work. These tabs here are going to get glue. And we're going to, what I did was I kind of, might not be as, yeah, it's not going to be as easy to do, but you can kind of angle this a little bit, bring it in, and those tabs have to get glued to the sides here. Okay, I'll walk you through that. Okay, now don't be afraid or don't be concerned if things don't work out the first time. I do want you to really try to get glue on this entire tab. Okay. And if you need to, just kind of spread it out nice and thin. The thinner, the thinner the better. Meaning you don't want it too thin because then it's just going to be super dry and it probably won't stay. But go ahead and just rotate this a little bit. Drop it in, then push it towards the back of the card so those tabs are touching the back as far as it'll go. Okay, I also want it straight up and down, and then I would recommend getting a dowel and using that dowel to push the tab up against the side on each side. Okay, now this one kind of moved out of place, so that's okay. So I'm kind of using my fingers here to push this back as far as it'll go, top and bottom, while it's making contact with the side. Now we just need it to get partial contact for now, but it is pretty important that it's pushed back all the way as far as it'll go. Okay, and then what we can do, once it has a hold, just be patient here, don't rush this part, because you're just gonna have to do it over again if you do. Okay, what we can do, I'm probably jumping the gun here, but what you want to do now is you can take it, fold it very gently, and now you can really push it up against the sides. Okay, while we're doing that, very gently rock it back and fold it down again and press and hold. I'm really pushing it. That's why my hands are kind of shaking. Uh-oh. Kind of glued it shut. There we go. Okay, so you can see those tabs now, the yellow, are glued to the side, and we're able to fold it back and forth, and it's staying put for us. Okay, so the front layer is essentially the same, except that the tabs are facing forward, and those are going to go right there. And that's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply our glue to these two tabs. We're just going to repeat that same process, and that is your card. So it's not too bad. And of course, we have a coordinating envelope to go with it, as always. There we go. Get it nice and tacky. You can kind of swing it like that to drop it in. And then again, you want to push that forward as far as it'll go and continue to apply pressure to that. And then take and push that tab up against the side on each side so it starts to make contact. Give it a few moments to let it somewhat set. It's got to have that initial hold. And then you can take it very gently, kind of look at it at the bottom, make sure it's not moving. And here's where we can really push on it now. Okay, and while it's still kind of not fully dry, go ahead and give that a push on the other side. And that's it. Okay, very cool. Nice dimensional card. That again folds flat, ready to go. You've got room for your little sentiment on the back, and that's that. Okay, so let's take a look at our envelope. This one's a little different just because this card's a little bit bigger than what we're used to. I scored this with my Juliets, my Caesar Juliet machine. Beautiful score lines. The best in the biz, if I do say so myself. Where the heck is that score line? I think I'm missing a score line here, guys. I have to check that out and see if it's me or if it's... Oh, you know what happened? I know, I can tell you exactly what happened. Well, where's my whole thing? So what happened was, on the Caesar machine, you use a, I use a nickel. I know this sounds weird, but just bear with me here. I use a nickel to, set up my scoring pressure. I know it's weird. It's kind of old school. And that nickel was in the way. The nickel was in the way, and it caused it not to work properly. But I just manually scored it, and it should be fine. Yours obviously will work. And I will also double check to make sure that I'm not making that up after I finish this assembly video. But you know, fold this. Again, this one's just because it's a little bit of a bigger card. Okay, so we're gonna take this, we're gonna glue this to the very bottom of our envelope. And again, if you're hand delivering this, you don't need to make the envelope, which is why we always put it in a separate folder. Or if you want to use a different envelope, that's fine too, but we always include one. And that glue's already drying, man, I'm telling you. Wish I had a laser that could just glue this stuff together, or just do it with my eyeballs. Bzz. Okay. So we're gonna line that up first, and then you can see here, the rest of it, the two sides, the two remaining sides will just will just fall into place. We'll put glue on both sides. Spread that out nice and thin. And close this up. Then we have some details on the flap that we need to finish up. Okay, that is surprisingly super tacky already. Okay, there we go. Close that up. Should just naturally fall into place. Okay, I'll flip this over this way. Push from this side. Actually, maybe use my bone folder. I don't know if I've ever done that. Not a bad idea. Nice clean seams. Okay, and then grab your little red piece here. This red piece is going to go inside, like so. So what I want you to do here is drop a few little drops around these little holes, and then on this piece, just do a little line around the perimeter. Otherwise, you don't really know where not to put the glue. Okay, just like that. Press that down. Okay, and then Let's take our little tree. You can see where that goes. Pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to match that up with the little baubles, ornaments, baubles. Someone was probably drinking when they named these ornaments baubles. Okay, there we go. Just line that up with the little ornaments and then take your gold star, glue that to the top. Made a little note today to avoid, and again, this is not a symmetrical star, so just make sure you line it up correctly. Might have to rotate it a couple, 2-3 times if you're from Wisconsin. There it is. Finish that off. There we go. Okay, and there's your envelope. And you can see here, once this folds flat, plenty of room to pop it in there. And that is going to be it for this card. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please visit us on our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. And also, if you make any of the cards from our new Christmas card bundle, I'd love to see them. And so would the rest of our community. There's 2 places you can go now. You can head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Official, or if you're on Creative Fabrica, go under Clubhouses, and you can see us in the, you can see me and Mike, and I think Diana's hanging out there now too, in the paper crafting group. Hopefully we'll have a Dreaming Tree group there soon. They said that they're working on that, and yeah, so. And thank you again to all of you that have subscribed to Creative Fabrica's All Access. That's the only way to get this new content. If you haven't, I hope that you do eventually join us there. And that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.